This is the Milo Beasley Show. This is the Milo Beasley Show. There's only one thing you need to know. This is the Milo Beasley Show. And now, here's your host, Milo Beasley.
And welcome to the Milo Beasley Show. This week we have a great one for you. I'm so excited. You may know her as Val from The Office, but there's so much more. This might be my favorite guest of all time, and we're up to like 307 episodes, so that's saying a lot. So no pressure on you. Please help me welcome at this time, Ameenah Kaplan. How are you?
What's up, Milo? That was quite an intro. I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot to live up to, man. I hope I don't embarrass myself. Put it that way.
Oh, I don't think it's possible, man. So yeah, doing my research, and you've had the life. I will say.
Well, I'm still doing it. I hope I'm entering my best chapter now. I really do. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. So yeah, so fans, pop culture fans may know you as Val Johnson from The Office. Let's get into that a little bit. How did that come about? First, were you a fan of The Office prior to joining the cast?
I was just a professional actor in LA, going out for lots of things, film, TV, theater, otherwise, just trying to stay employed in the arts. And the audition came down the pipe, and it turned out that I had a 6 degrees of separation connection with one of the cast members there. It turned out to be the guy that, I was playing his love interest. We're both musicians, basically. And
right.
We had known each other a little bit from the music scene. And he was actually better friends with some of my bandmates. But we're talking about Craig Robinson, y'all.
Right.
But yeah, he was friends with some of my bandmates, and the guys used to hang out after the show, and I was the only girl in the band, so I would just go home. I'd be like, "Good night." I just came to play drums and then leave. But when I got this audition, Craig actually was pretty instrumental in the chemistry read and saying, "Yeah, I think Ameenah would be good for this." So I owe it all really to Craig, and but also just to being a professional actor and just being out there and auditioning for stuff. The casting director is wonderful and very thoughtful and really reaches far and beyond to find lesser known, maybe perhaps off the normal path talent. And I think that's partly what made The Office so great. So yeah, so that's my story, how I got on.
All right, and then you were on there for two. Did you think when you auditioned for it that this part would last for 2 years?
No. But you always hope, that's kind of the goal, right?
Right.
You always hope, and you hope that it's going to be ultimately a series regular situation. And like every actor hopes that. So I can't say that I didn't, because I did,
Right.
But I definitely didn't know it was going to happen, or didn't, I'm a bit more pragmatic. So I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. And I think The Office was pretty pragmatic too. One of my favorite stories about it is if you see the first episode where I appear, there's a couple guys sitting like over one of my shoulders. I forget. I think it's like over my left shoulder. And it's a white guy, and then there's a black guy with an afro. And their storyline was the replacement if Val didn't work out. Now, if you ask the showrunner or somebody else, and they're like, "That's not true," okay, well then I'll go with that. But until I'm proven otherwise, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Those guys over my shoulder were the alternate storyline in case Val didn't work out. But I was really happy about it. I was super nervous about it, and but it worked out, and so I did 2 seasons on the show. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm glad it worked out. I love The Office. I know some of those later episodes, the later years get a bad rap, but man, I absolutely love those.
I didn't know that. I didn't know the later years got a bad rap.
Well, anything without Michael Scott, people tended to, right. So, but within the yeah, so you were in the series, you ended up being in the series finale and the wedding. So you were at you got to be with Michael Scott, or on screen.
It was cool. Like the character was definitely a lot more well received than I would ever have imagined. And being a part of the lexicon is such an honor. But yeah, she definitely she resonated with some people, and I'm really glad of that, because I've you know, I've kind of shifted lanes quite a bit. I'm directing, you know, full time now. And so I'm not acting as much or pursuing it as much. I'm, you know, doing some things here and there.
Right.
You know, I had a teeny tiny part in the Avengers, but you know, which for me was like boom, like bucket list, you know, superhero movie. But so I was just grateful to get it, seeing as how I wasn't like totally focused on acting at that time. But I'm really grateful for how Val resonated and is lasting, because you know, I mean, it means a lot to me, and I'm honored to be sitting here with you talking about it.
Right. And as you mentioned, you got to work on Avengers. You got to be in a
Yeah,
superhero movie.
yeah,
Like how cool is that? So, like you got to
it's
be Gamora's
awesome.
mother. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
it's
pretty big
awesome.
deal.
I'm not even gonna front. Like, there weren't a lot of actors in that movie. If you really watch the credits, it's not like there were 200 actors or even extras and all that stuff. It's a
Right.
very small cast of actors, and I'm in it. You know, and I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. And I have a teeny tiny part, but it was a significant part. And I had auditioned for a few different things. And you know, honestly, like, you know, I think I'm a little bit older now, and I used to do a lot of martial arts and like be really in great shape and like really all have my stuff pretty tight. And by the time this came around, you know, I was already like, you know, in my 40s. And the things that I was auditioning for, like, you know, I'm doing all the martial arts stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, I mean, you know, and when you look at the cast, like, they're all 20 years younger than me or whatever. And I was like, girls, do your thing. You know, grandma over here is gonna grab what I, you know, and so I was just super grateful that it even came around to me. And if they ever do need like the older woman who can still kick butt, you know, and they do use those people. So certainly Wonder Woman does. And like, you know, I'm still available. But you know, it's like it was just awesome to be a part of it. And I did get to do the reason why I have a credit in game as well is because I did some they're called readers, but you're standing in for one of the actors who couldn't be there, and so I stood in for Zoe Saldana,
Oh,
and did a lot of the scenes where she appears with Thanos, because and I did those scenes with Josh Brolin. It's on the in the motion capture suit on the set, and you know, watching ourselves on the screen, and so it was really quite fun to work on both movies. And so I got to work with a bunch of different people, and it was pretty awesome. And when I was on the motion capture set, I honestly felt like I was a little bit more in my element, because I have a choreographic background and a directing. And so I was like, yeah, I think I like it on the technical side. You know, I think that's the new lane for me, is behind the camera and just on the other side of it. So it was really fun.
now because you had makeup on
Yeah.
for that scene, at what point after the movie aired, or after the premiere or anything, did you start getting phone calls to be like, hey, I think I saw somebody on TV that looked just like you?
You know, honestly, like, I have been told that I have a distinctive voice. And if you watch in game, I start talking before you actually see me. And I've had friends say they knew it was me from the moment I started talking. Yeah, this is by the way why I've never called Dan Savage's love cast, like, to ask a question about anything, or, you know, because I'm just like, you know what, this scratchy. It's like there's a few of us out there, you know, in the scratchy lane, the Demi Moores and the Kathleen Turners, and the, you know, we just, so I don't think I escaped very far with my voice. And so you marry that to the face, and you know,
Right.
um,
Now, again, you talked about choreography and especially like fight choreography, and you've done a lot of that.
yeah,
I mean, is I mean, again, you mentioned, hey, that you were, you're an actor, and you were looking for work and you were applying, but you've also directed, you've done, choreography, you've done a ton of things. And I want to talk about Royale, because that seemed to be a just a mash of, obviously Broadway, type shows and fighting, the choreography. How tough is it to come up with fight choreography?
yeah. You know, my approach to it tends to be kind of filmic, and most of my fight choreography has been done on the stage, because I love live theater. That's kind of my bag. But I have done some stuff on film, but like most of it's been on the stage. So I tend to approach fight choreography on the stage in a filmic way. And so, you know, you want it to look as realistic as possible. You know, so I'm doing like head snaps, and I'm doing, you know, merging of, you know, styles. So I'm not doing sort of classical sword fighting. I'm doing like, you know, brawling basically. Like we have fun. We've been dirty fighting. Like, you know, people grab, you know, like I just have fun with it and just do the things that I grew up watching, which was kung fu movies, you know, as a child, and wanting to do martial arts as a form of choreography, and you know, and doing a lot of capoeira, and but kung fu movies is what I grew up on, and I loved the hand play, you know. And
Right.
so when you're creating a fight, you know, I'm thinking about how realistic can I make this look, and so I approach it from a filmic point of view. So with the Royale, it was like it was a stylized fight. And by the way, the Royale for me was kind of a dream come true, in that it was my goal as a director is to do spectacle-based storytelling, meaning spectacle shows like Stomp, Blue Man Group, Cirque, which is my pedigree. That's where I come from. But I also come from a classical theater background, and I want to merge those two so that you have spectacle with storytelling, like The Lion King, which is the show that I work for now, which has an incredible spectacle with an equally as incredible story. That is a very difficult combination to get, and I thought that the Royale had it. And so I did the original choreography, the world premiere of it, and I was movement director on that show. And so my approach was enthusiastic, and I was just super stoked to get my hands on the material. And the director and I had you know, we just hit it off, and he really let me play. And so my first take on it was to do a lot of like rhythm on stage and to turn the boxing into a rhythmic experience, because the writer, wonderful Marco Ramirez, had put all these like claps into the show, and I, you know, just sort of extrapolated on that and wanted to make everything like a rhythmic fight, you know. And to stylize it, you know, I just sort of was like, well, what if we, rather than, you know, you don't want to show people boxing on stage because it just looks fake after a while. I mean, you can get away with a couple
Right.
moves, but after a while, you know, it's staged, so you can't cut, you know,
Right.
So the concept that I came up with was to stomp as for each punch, and the other fighter would react upon, you know, hearing that stomp, and a lot of times the stomps were rhythmic. So we really just got to play and had a great reaction for that production. Obviously, it's been done by other great directors and other great actors, and they've put their stink on it as well. But I did get a chance to direct it after that, a few years later. And I took out all of the on-stage sort of rhythmic percussion stuff that I'd done and made it a part of the soundtrack, and felt like I really evolved as a director and choreographer with the next one, you know, not needing to show all of my stomp tricks on stage, but put it
Right.
off stage and, you know, use it as a soundtrack. So I had a blast doing that show, and felt like it was really exactly what I wanted to do as a director choreographer. So thank you for asking about it. Yeah, I'm very proud of the work that we did on that show.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now I want to get into just starting at, like, how did you get involved in percussions and drums when you were younger? I mean, I think, you know, when kids are in school, you know, it seems like maybe drums isn't the thing to go to, but how are you drawn to it?
Well, you know, it's so funny, and I'm really glad you're asking. You're just asking great questions, Milo. You know, if you ask me, I will say I'm a drummer first and foremost. And the reason being is that it's the first thing that I did as an artist. And I think, well, I was probably an actor before, honestly. You know, I was a little shit. Oh, excuse my language. Are you bleep that out? Can you bleep that out?
Oh,
Sorry
it's
about
the
that.
internet, you know.
Oh, sorry, everyone. But I was precocious, as they say. So I was probably an
Precocious.
actor first. But in my mind, I was a drummer first, and it started at age 9, just beating on the school desk and just making beats like kids still do it today. They've got this new thing with pencils that they do, and they're making all these kind of house beats and stuff with their pencils. We used to do it on the side of the desk and on the top of the desk, and you just get busy on like a hip hop groove or whatever. And so my earliest memories of doing that are like 9 years old. Then my earliest memory of playing a drum set, my first groove on a drum set, was 12 years old. Now, I'm not saying I was any good at it. I'm just saying
Right.
that's what happened.
That's when it started, right?
That's when it started. And honestly, I think I had like a distant relative who may have been a musician, but there was no one in my immediate, world that was. So I just attribute it to just kind of my essence. It was just my calling, or whatever, however you want to think of that. It was like, it was just a part of me. Drums have always been there, and they always will be. And they've run kind of consecutively alongside my acting career and choreography. And sometimes I've been paid to play drums and gotten to play with big artists and big venues and big situations. And sometimes I haven't been paid to play, and I've loved it either way, because it's my religion. It's my temple. Drums are my temple. So yeah, they're very special to me. They're my original sin, and I'm into them for the rest of my life. When I made this shift from acting to directing, drums I couldn't give up. I couldn't put them aside the way that I've sort of put acting on the back burner. I put some percussion instruments aside, because you have to respect those instruments if you're going to play them, which means you have to play them, stay on them. And I'm just not playing conga and timbali, even though I have all my timbales right there. I'm not playing conga and timbali as much, because I'm not getting to do that, or djembe. That's the one that I really feel like I'm missing. But drum set, still playing as much as I can, and we'll always play. I'll always, always, always be a drummer first, for sure.
Yeah, I love your, not to put out your personal information, but your email tagline is "set from a drummer," as opposed to like, and yeah. So I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Now, and then you did drumming for Stomp. Is that correct?
Yeah. Stomp is a drumming show. It's a percussion show, and it was definitely my intro into the business. Full time. I'd done some professional work when I was a teenager, but wasn't full time. I definitely think I was a combo. That was a show that used all of my skill set: the acting, the movement side of me, and the drumming side of me. Like, it used everything. So yeah.
So
yeah,
did you do
19?
19?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
At 19, awesome. I had no clue what I was gonna do.
I was just, they were like, she's young, she can play drums, let's go. Like, because I can beat on things, so let's go. Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to do any of the like actual stomping or things with your legs and feet, right?
Oh yeah, you do the whole show. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
All right, because
oh yes, I did everything. Yeah, I even walked on the walkers one time. Like, like the walkers are the big 55-gallon oil drums.
Right.
You basically have to, you have to have thighs and hips, and there are a couple of women who walk on walkers regularly. Allison Easter was one of them. I am not one of them. I am a small person with a big mouth. But that does not translate to big legs. And so, I think, I'm not even sure I did it in a performance. I may have only did it in rehearsal, but I think maybe I did it in a show in Europe or something. But yeah, I've even done walkers. I did sinks too, which has the P gag at the end, which was no fun as a woman to do that with like 3 years. It was a bad idea. But yeah, so I did pretty much everything you can do in Stomp.
I've heard horror folks, and I knew a guy who did Stomp with a lot of performers having to get replacement knees and surgery and stuff like that. Were you ever concerned about that? Or at the time you're 19 years old and you're like, oh, just
yeah. Well, the good thing is that you're young and your body is young, and so you're going for it. We stretched out regularly. We had great massage, and we had I'm sure it's even better now because we were back in the day. But yeah, you were concerned. Like, there was a time right after I left the show where standing up was tough. You'd be standing up for a couple minutes and you'd just be like, oh, your back and your knees, and you'd have to just kind of bend over. I'm much better from that now. My back is better. But if you notice, I'm in my office and I don't have like a super comfy office chair. I'm sitting on a drum throne because it positions my body better.
Right.
Takes care of my lower back better. So yeah, all of that is not just from Stomp, but just from drumming. And Everything like, oh, that's the best kept secret, by the way, is that drummers have the best chairs. We sit down for a living and bounce on our butts. So like,
This is true.
Yeah, we've if you ever sit on a drum throne, here, I'll show you. Hang on.
I've never thought of this.
Look at that. That's what I'm sitting on.
Yeah.
This is a free commercial for Rock and Sock right now. I'm not even endorsed by them, but maybe they'll change their mind, start sending me some gear, Rock and Sock.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
But
yeah, I've never thought of that.
Yeah, it's a bicycle seat, and it's got like, awesome padding, and then just a little lip on the back that kind of keeps your, everything kind of just solid, and it makes you sit up properly. And then your legs are not, hanging over the edge of a chair. It's on a bicycle kind of seat, but it's awesome. Yeah. But anyway, I just totally lost the plot there, Milo.
So, but with Stomp, now listen, I've seen your resume, Grammys, Dancing with the Stars, but let's talk about the real highlight. And that is via Stomp, you got to meet Mr. Fred Rogers.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. It was awesome and definitely one of my all-time favorite experiences ever in my career. I still get asked about Fred. And the thing that I like to say is, one is that he was the real deal. There's so many people that disappoint us these days, and everybody's human. And I've seen Fred get a little upset or whatever. So he wasn't, perfect, because there's no such thing, but he was the real deal. And what you saw was genuinely who he was. And that inspires me, because it's like, yeah, you can, people can be that awesome all the way to the end. And so we did the production. And the second story I like to tell is to illustrate how he was the real deal. So we did his show, and then about a year and a half later, our tour was in Pittsburgh, which is where his home office is. And we asked our company manager to call him up and see if we could come over for a visit. The cast of Stomp just wanted to come by and say hello to Fred Rogers. And he said, yeah. So we showed up, and it wasn't even half the people that were in our cast were not even there when we did the show. They were newer cast members, but he was like, come on over anyway. So we walk into his office, and of course it's just completely decked out, not unlike the bare walls that you see here. Fred's office is completely decked out, and all his memorabilia, cards mostly from kids and their families, and pictures and photographs. I mean, just covered layers on the wall, and hasn't seen me in a year and a half, 2 years, or whatever it is, stands up from behind his desk and goes, Ameenah, and gives me a hug. And I was just like, Fred, he was the genuine article. And whether or not it was I said this in an interview recently, but it just recently came to me, which is whether or not he, asked his staff who we were or whatever. He did. He bothered. He didn't just go, hey, well, good to see you guys. You guys are awesome. He bothered, and he connected my name with my face, and I thought that was just awesome. So yeah, Fred was the real deal.
That is amazing. I would love Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and I don't know if it's on syndication and reruns, but it absolutely should be, I believe.
Yeah, I wonder if it is. It's always on somewhere on PBS.
Right.
I feel like it's always on somewhere.
And
I sure hope it is. I sure hope it is.
And as a big Disney fan, I want to talk about The Lion King a little bit. So, obviously, that seems like a perfect gig for you, at least as far as the sounds go, as there's a lot of percussion in The Lion King. How did you come about becoming the resident director at Lion King?
Yeah, good one. I shifted my career to directing, and I was doing some consulting for Disney Imagineering, which is Disney's think tank for everything Disney, and it's their research and development. It's like total Batman behind the curtain. This is where it all happens. It's pretty dope, and you get to do these backstage tours of everything in Disney. You're behind the ride, watching everything, and just. I mean, it's pretty cool. I can't tell, I can't say what exactly we were working on, but the access and the opportunity to move your mind like that without limitations because it's Disney. I was like, okay, thank you. I like it here. And some of my colleagues out at Imagineering became aware of this opportunity for resident director of Lion King, and they asked if I was interested. I was. One thing led to another, and I got an interview and got hired. And it is incredible because I'm such an old school fan of Julie Taymor. Like I was saying, about where spectacle meets storytelling.
Right.
And that's, a dream of mine coming from physical theater like I have. And I just feel like Julie Taymor paired with Disney just nailed that spectacle and storytelling. And I wanted to get inside of Julie's brain. And so when the opportunity came up, I was like, yes. And I wanted to see what she saw and what she did. And I wanted to be as close to her as I could get, so that I could learn and figure it out and see what they were doing. Because I knew Julie had the spectacle and I knew Lion King or Disney had the stories. And I was like, what is this? And and it's an incredibly challenging job. It's a huge show. I'm never quite sure that I'm doing it totally right. And but I work my butt off, and my official job duty is to maintain the artistic integrity of the show. And that means I'm taking care of Julie Taymor's baby, and I'm doing my best to keep it as the Lion King that the world knows and loves, and it's right. Julie's show, while at the same time finding space for the performers to make it their own and have fun and reinvent it and keep it fresh, So it's right. It's a complex and challenging job.
Have you been able to visit Walt Disney World and see the Festival of the Lion King's stage show there?
I missed it. And the reason why I missed it is because my boyfriend's daughter, when we were just over there, we went 2 weeks ago. She was sick and wanted to go home. And so I took her home. And so he stayed with the other kids. And so, like a good almost stepmama, I brought the baby home. But so I missed it. Yeah. But I did see the Avatar world.
Yeah. What'd you think of that?
I thought it was amazing.
Insane.
Yeah, I met the creator when I was out at Imagineering, and he looked like Indiana Jones to me. He just looked so. I was like, this dude is living the life right here. And he was like, yeah, I just did the Avatar, And I was like, wow, man, he just was so free, and he had his hat and he just tan. He looked like he just was living my artistic dream. And then I get to see his creation, the Avatar world, and I was like, man, yeah. I'm gonna stick around here for a little while, see if I get a chance to build something like this, or to imagine something like this.
Absolutely, and you've got to work with Disney even more with Encore. I mean, which is a great concept.
Yeah.
So, what was it like? Was there anybody who stood out to you? I don't think that they got it at first, and then they turned it on.
That's a really good question. I'd have to think about it. I tend to be one of the kinds that comes in and goes, everybody's awesome, and let's start there. So I usually don't come in going, oh boy, even if we've got our work cut out for us. But that's the premise of Encore, is that you have your work cut out for you. But I just come in, and my philosophy with choreography has always been to meet that performer where they are. And I tend to do these warm-ups and stuff before I start choreographing, so I can see what people are made of. How do you move? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And so I build my choreography around them. Of course, I come in with concepts and stuff like that. So with Encore, it being a reality show, I was nervous about that, and about, how I might be perceived on a reality show. But I really trusted the producer, Alicia, and she's just awesome. And I think her intentions were to do the mission statement of Encore, rather than to, have it become anything else. And so I trusted that. And I thought I got lucky with the casts that I worked with. I thought as a director, certainly the cast of what we do, Godspell, I was like, I thought I was the luckiest director, on Encore, frankly. I just thought they were amazing. they had the bar so high, we were able to go take it there, so yeah.
Hey, and when you
Anyway,
and
that
when
was
you
a
got
long-winded.
right when you have obviously a good show like Godspell and you have your talent, hey man, sometimes it's just easy work.
So you think Godspell is a good show?
I mean, it's not one of my favorites, but yeah, I mean,
I came to think it was too. I wasn't very familiar with it before I did Encore, and
right. And so that's the same. That's
yeah,
the same. I mean, I knew of it, but
yeah.
it wasn't until Encore that,
Oh,
I understood it. And so again, and maybe that's why it's not one of my favorites, is because I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I enjoyed.
I wonder if it would have resonated with me on the page, had it not been what we were doing for Encore. I don't
Right.
know that I would have grabbed and been like, I'm doing this, like, but getting the chance to do it, and the angle that we took with the Harlem Renaissance, this company that we were working with, where many of them are religious, and they had lots of personal investment in the material itself, and they brought such honesty and integrity to the portrayal of it, that I found it to be awesome, told through them,
Right.
or with them. I mean, I was like, yeah, this is really fun. And so I came to really like it as well, but I was just wondering, what you thought about it. Yeah.
Right. Again, I wasn't familiar until, I mean, I've heard of it, but I wasn't familiar with it until Encore.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's one of those old shows that's been around for a while,
exactly. Right. Right. So now we're going to go into the first of our two mini games that we have on the Milo Beasley Show. The first is called the Milo Beasley Show Frequently Asked Questions. I'm going to ask you the same 5 questions that I asked to all my guests.
Okay.
Now, they're not that hard. They're all opinion questions or questions, So, but you're probably going to hate me at the end of this, because you're going to be like, why are you asking me that? All right.
Okay,
so question number 1.
Okay, here we go. Let's do this.
Here we go.
Yep.
Question number 1. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Wow. Okay. Alfonso Ribeiro.
Okay.
From the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When he was a little boy, oh my God. Oh my God, when he was a little boy. Oh my God. He was on a show called Silver Spoons with Ricky
Yes,
Schroeder.
Silver Spoons.
Yes, he was on Silver Spoons with Ricky Schroeder, who was also really cute. It could have been Ricky Schroeder, but Alfonso Ribeiro did that Michael Jackson commercial where he was like moonwalking with Michael Jackson, and I was Theru Dillon. Maybe the appropriate answer is Alfonso Ribeiro, but the completely inappropriate answer is Michael Jackson. He was probably my first celebrity crush. Yeah, my first love. Yeah, Michael Jackson. But Alfonso Ribeiro in Little Michael form,
right?
That I was really into. That's hilarious.
All right, so I'm super interested in your answer for this one, because this is one of my favorite questions, and it always throws everyone for a loop. So, question number 2. What is your guilty pleasure song? So what's the song that you throw on that you don't care who likes it? It is your jam.
I have to play it. Okay, let me think about that one, because there's a song that I'm afraid to say it because it's an earworm, but I never listened to it. I just think it's really catchy, the syncopation. But let me see, guilty pleasure song that I don't care if anybody. This is I like it all, man. I can listen to anything. Okay, so let me think.
So like when you're in your car, you're at a red light, you turn, Macarena comes on, you turn it up.
Oh, no. Like it's stuff that I don't even really know. Okay, so this is a song. What's that song? I just met you, and this is
Carly Rae Jepsen.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Okay, that's the closest thing to it. That's probably the closest thing.
Yeah.
Because that song, whether I like it or not, as a drummer, the syncopation of the way her voice goes with the keyboards just kills me. I think it's great. I think it's great. And I'm just like, wow, the drummer in me goes into a little, it tickles my ear. It tickles my ear. But I don't listen to that song. Sorry, Carly. Awesome. But I don't listen to that song. And I'm really usually not ashamed of my music, but there's a song by Chuck Mangione. It's all instrumental that my boyfriend said sounds like elevator music to him. And I was like, elevator music? So apparently I even like elevator music. But it feels so good by Chuck Mangione. I love that song, but it's not guilty to me. It's awesome.
All right. So this is if you had to. If you had to, your life depended on it, and you had to fight, would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Let me see here.
So what do you think you could take? Right.
Or 100 duck-sized horses. A horse-sized duck.
The horse-sized duck.
Duck.
One and done, get it out of here.
Yes, exactly. Because so a duck has like a big belly and his heart and everything is like right there. And I'm going to be right underneath his soft spot. So I'm going to knock him out pretty quick.
I think you're right on taking out the one, because 100 of anything is a lot.
I've seen Jurassic Park. I think it's part 2, wherever that little girl walks on the beach and she goes around the corner and those little, like they look like little velociraptors, but they come and then one of them is like, but 100 of them and you're finished. So one giant duck for me. Thank you.
All right. Question number 4.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie quote?
Wow. I already know what this is. Okay. Now y'all can call this a guilty pleasure if you want to. I wish you asked me what my guilty pleasure movies are. It's disaster movies. But my favorite movie quote is "I'll be back."
You know what? I've had multiple people say that on the show.
Because it's awesome. Because it's awesome. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator is awesome. And the way they've done it, I love the entire series. I don't care what any of you say, it's awesome. And I love it all. Like seeing Linda Hamilton come back in the 5th one. Come on. I love it.
Same. I love Terminator 1, 2, 3, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Love them.
Yeah, I just love that story, and what a fantastic series for a female character to have starred in, even though, Schwarzenegger obviously is the Terminator, right. But that's Sarah Connor's story. And you see that in Terminator 2, and then you see her pass the torch in Terminator 5. And it's pretty awesome. And she just looked amazing. And I was so proud of her. I think there's so much pressure on women to, remake your body into something, whatever. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, women feel a pressure to remake themselves into a younger version of themselves. And Linda Hamilton is just so confident and wonderful, that she is allowing herself to be aged beautifully and gracefully. And it's wonderful to see. It was just great to see her. The same way it was great to see her in the Terminator 2, right? When she went from being the wayfish waitress, right. And then in the second one, she's all, and she drops off of that pole and turns around, and you're just like, oh my God, yes, girls, we can do it, And then when she comes out of that truck in 5, and she's 65. And she's got her gun and her guns, and I'm like, thank you, Linda Hamilton. Thank you. Thank you. So that all of us girls with muscles who fight, we look up to you and Jeannie Epper, by the way, the original Wonder Woman stunt double.
Yep.
Jeannie Epper. So, all
right.
Yeah.
So the last one is going to be a fill in the blank. And it is, I would be a millionaire if I had $1 every time
I ran on too long in a story. I'm long-winded, Milo. Can't you tell?
Hey, this is the internet. There's no such thing as too much here on the internet.
Yeah, do you listen to Joe Rogan's 3-hour podcast ever? You get into that?
Not recently. I have
not recently.
Yeah, I have a 10-month-old that takes a lot of my time.
There
So
you go.
anything for 3 hours at this point is definitely off limits.
I hear that. I listen to Joe Rogan like because I feel like it's like I have a glass to the boys' locker room. Just what are the boys talking about? And then half the time I'm like, that's really interesting. And then there's a part of me that's like, oh, boys. And so I haven't listened to it in a while, but I like it when I'm editing because it's 3
Right.
hours and you just like rock to it.
That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. And then the second of our 2 mini games is called the Milo Beasley Show Top 5, where I'm asking you a random question.
Goodness.
All right. We're going to go with top 5. We touched a little bit about it as far as Disney goes. So, and then musicals. So, how about top 5 favorite Disney songs?
Oh my God. You're exposing the fact that like I was not a Disney kid. I wasn't a Disney kid. So all of my favorite Disney songs are in The Lion King. And this
Oh,
is not only because I work for The Lion King, but because the music is spectacular. All right. So I think let me see. Probably my favorite song is One by One, which happens at the right after the intermission, and it's a cappella, and it's all these bomb singers, and it's beautifully arranged by Le Bohème, and it's just gorgeous. And to see the way that sound travels into the bodies of the audience and sit there and watch the cast do it every night is spectacular. Number 2 is probably They Live in You,
okay.
which is when Rafiki and is singing to Simba, and then the whole choir joins in, which is a reprise of the song that Mufasa sings to Simba, and where he lives in you. Sorry, he lives in you, and because They Live in You is sung by Mufasa. You know what I really should say is I should say Hakuna Matata because I would annoy my work husband, the dance director. But let me see here. I won't say that. I really like, let's see here. Oh, Shadowland. I think it's great, especially when sung by Nia Holloway, who was my first Nala when I got the job. And Nia's now on Republic of Sarah, the new TV show that's coming out. But when Nia Holloway sings Shadowland, let's see here. Be Prepared. I think that's
Absolutely.
Scar's song, Be Prepared. And our current Scar, Spencer Plachy, is probably my favorite Scar, and he's hilarious to me. So I'm just giggling thinking about his performance because he's just fun, and I just hear his voice singing it. He brings an extra dimension to it. Was that 5 or was that 4?
I think it was 4. So one more.
One more. Let me see. Okay, let me see if I can step outside of Lion King. What's the song that we all love from the American Tale with Fievel? I know that's stupid.
Oh, there's No Cats in America.
It's
And
the
then
one
there's Somewhere Out There, right?
Somewhere Out There. I love
Somewhere
that
Out
song.
There, but No Cats in America is my favorite. But yeah, Somewhere Out There, great song.
Yeah, I love that song. Somewhere Out There. Yeah, yeah. I
Absolutely.
definitely more of like a Tom and Jerry, Sesame Street kid. Sorry, Disney, but I was. But you know, but I'm definitely getting into the Disney thing now for sure, and I completely understand why people love it so much.
Absolutely. So how would I do have to ask because I'm super curious. How was the birthday trip?
It was awesome. So I went. You talking about just my most recent trip that I
Yes.
was on? Yeah, it was awesome. So I took my 19-foot travel trailer. I wish I could show you a picture. Let me see. It's probably not going to look good on this camera, but I like things that don't work. Let me see here. So I took my 19-foot travel trailer and I drove to Missouri. My friend has a farm. Him and his family have like 500 acres out there. And,
Oh,
it takes me a few days to get up there. It takes me a few days to get back. And, I stay for a few days when I'm out there, a week or whatever it is. All right, let's see if you can see that.
oh yeah.
There you go. That's my setup. So
That is
it's pretty chill. So it's a little more glamping than I want. But my friend whose farm I was visiting, he said I would want a bathroom, and he was right. Thank you, JJ. And so I have this awesome lightweight, ultralight travel trailer that I can tow with my Jeep Grand Cherokee, which has a tow package on it. And I went up to his farm, went to a demolition derby, like out in the country. Yup.
Yeah.
For like a real one. Like these people were serious, and they were raising for their town. My friend's town has like 550 people in it. Went swimming in the pond that is out on the property and got all bit up by chiggers. It was awesome. Sat in the sun for a long time, and it was awesome, and rode kayaks and just awesome. Rode around on utility vehicles on the farm. Yeah.
Good,
awesome.
man. Getting away from just civilization every once in a while can be really, really good for you.
Yeah, it can. It's like, also, we get in our little bubbles, don't we? And we don't, we don't travel outside of them, and then we don't recognize each other when we're in the voting booth or when we're looking at each other's issues, and
Yep.
and being, I was in the heartland for real. I was in the middle country, Missouri, in the heartland. And it was awesome to be there and to connect with people that I don't normally connect with. And yeah, so I'm very appreciative of that relationship with that family, because they have like a traditional farmhouse, like, with the gables and everything out there. It's killer. It's like, it's just awesome. I was going to say it was like entering another world, but it isn't. It's like,
Right.
It's reminding myself that this is America and that we are Americans, and that these are the people that grow our food. That we get so conveniently at the store. This is where it's grown. And so it's good. I planted a garden with my friend, and it was backbreaking, or I should say he planted the garden and I took a break every 15 minutes. Hot. I was sitting here, it was hot, so I had to get used to it. But he was out there, no shirt, just planting a garden, a huge garden in my opinion. But so it was awesome. Thanks for asking.
Oh, no problem. So before we wrap up, where can folks find you on the social medias if they want to follow along?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not amazing at social media. I'm much better at like just answering emails and stuff like that. But I do have an Instagram. I think I'm Drummer Girl AKK, which are my initials. And I'm on Facebook. And that's usually how people contact me, is through Facebook. And some of my friends, convinced me to be on Cameo. So I am on, if you want that, I'm there as well. But Instagram, sometimes I post pictures from my trips and stuff like that, because I like to camp a lot and get out in nature. But I've actually forgot to post everything. Maybe I'll post it. Maybe that'll be what I'll do. Yeah, but Instagram, Facebook, and just just online. I don't know. I'm easy to find.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you took the time to chat with me today, and to alleviate your fears. You did not disappoint. I know I set the bar up there at the beginning, and I'm just so honored to be able to chat with you. Like you said, you've had quite the career, and could just be getting started.
I hope so, Milo. I'll take those words with me as I go on this next journey. Hey, congratulations, new papa. How's that been?
It's been great. It's been just celebrated my first Father's Day.
Yeah.
So it's been having those bonding moments, and I mean, it's tough, this first year is tough, but I wouldn't trade it. It's been absolutely amazing.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations to you and your partner.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oops, you might have to beep that one too. But I think they say that word on just regular shows, so I think we're okay with the censors on that.
I think so. I think so as well. All right. So anything else before we wrap up?
Nope. That's it. Nope. I'll just go on if you let me, Milo. I'll just keep going on. So
we'll have to do a part. Tell you what, then let's do a part 2 sometime soon.
All right. You let me know. I'll be there.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much. And thank you all for watching. And we will see you next week.